Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know, one of the things I love about our listeners is you all really love to learn, but you also don't like to get bogged down in too many details.
Oh, absolutely. We want to get to the good stuff.
Right. You want those key insights
Yeah.
without, kind of sifting through pages and pages
Yeah.
of information. Well, today's deep dive is going to be perfect for that because
Okay.
we're going on a fascinating journey across India, exploring the distinct cultures of Chhattisgarh, Ladakh, and Nagaland.
Wow.
Now, as always, this deep dive is based on the incredible notes that you, our listener, have provided to us. It's called Devon's India Nights, a PDF.
Oh, cool.
And it's amazing because it covers so much ground. We've got cultural traditions, historical events, popular traditions, music, cuisine,
Wow. That's a lot.
the flora and fauna,
Yeah.
notable people, landmarks, and language
I'm excited.
for each of these states. And our mission today is to kind of pull out the most compelling pieces, the nuggets, the connections, the things that'll leave you thinking, wow, I didn't know that.
I love it. It's like a shortcut to being in the know about these really amazing corners of India.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. First stop, Chhattisgarh, often referred to as the Rice Bowl of India.
Oh, interesting.
Now, one of the first things that pops out is its strong connection to tribal culture,
Yeah.
with about a third of the population, almost 32%, belonging to different tribal communities.
Okay.
And within Chhattisgarh, the Bastard district seems to be a real hub of unique art, traditions, and an incredibly long Dussehra festival.
Oh, tell me more about this Dussehra festival. 75 days. That's not just a festival. That's like a whole season.
I know. It's amazing.
What's the story there?
Well, it's dedicated to this goddess, Danteshwari.
Okay.
And it's not just a religious thing. It's like a social, cultural, even historically, it had political significance. All these different tribal communities would come together.
So it was a way to bring everyone together.
Yeah, for like extended periods. It's a way to kind of strengthen those bonds.
Right, and share traditions.
And share traditions and all that, right?
I bet the handicrafts are amazing there, too.
Oh, they are. Dokra, that really intricate metalwork.
Oh, yeah.
And the beautiful terracotta, the tribal jewelry. It's also unique and distinctive.
It's like you can see the cultural heritage in every piece.
Right. And historically speaking, Chhattisgarh was known as Dakshina Kosala in ancient times, which is super interesting because it's actually mentioned in epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata.
Wow, so it's got deep roots.
Deep roots, right. And it's seen a lot of changes over the centuries, ruled by the Marathas, then the British.
Yeah.
And of course, it played a role in India's independence movement with figures like Veer Narayan Singh.
Right.
And actually only became a separate state in 2000.
So it's a relatively young state in the grand scheme of things?
Exactly, still evolving. And speaking of traditions, besides the Dussehra, there's also the Madai Festival, a big tribal gathering with processions and rituals.
Okay.
The Guncha Festival, which sounds fun.
Oh.
It features these playful wooden pistols.
Wooden pistols. That's amazing.
I know. And then the Pola Festival, which celebrates bulls, which kind of shows how important agriculture is to the people.
It's like a window into their everyday life, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And what about the music? They've got this Pandavani folk music,
Yeah.
which tells stories from the Mahabharata.
Oh, wow. Keeping those epic tales alive.
And they have this really famous Pandavani singer, Tijan Bai.
Okay, I've heard of her. She's gained international recognition, right?
Exactly. And then there's the Ratnacha, a shepherd dance,
Mm-hmm.
and Natcha theater.
Cool.
So it seems like storytelling through performance is huge there.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It's like they've got rhythm in their blood.
And let's not forget the food.
Mm.
The list of unique dishes is incredible. Chana samosa, amath, chosala roti, farah, durori, vethri kurmi.
Wow. Say that 3 times fast.
Right. Bara, bafari.
Yeah.
And they've got these drinks made from the mahua flour, which are really popular, especially among the tribal folks.
It's interesting. All those dishes, they really reflect the local resources, like rice flour in those rotis and lentils and, of course, that mahua flour.
It's like a taste of the land, right?
Absolutely.
And speaking of the land, Chhattisgarh has some incredible natural beauty. There's the Kangar Valley National Park,
Yeah.
which is home to tigers, leopards,
Wow.
and even like cave ecosystems, which I thought was fascinating.
Cave ecosystems.
Yeah, they've got these really unique creatures that live in those caves.
Oh, wow. like a whole different world down there.
And then there's the Barnawapara Wildlife Sanctuary
Mm-hmm.
and the mahua tree, which we just talked about. It's not just a source of food and drink.
Right.
It's also very important in their rituals and ceremonies.
Really shows the connection they have with nature, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. And besides Tijan Bai, there are other notable figures from Chhattisgarh like, Phulan Devi, Anuj Sharma, a Chhattisgarhi singer, and Charandas Mahant, a politician.
A real mix of people who've made their mark.
Totally. And if you ever visit Chhattisgarh, you got to check out Raipur, the capital Jangdalpur, which is like the gateway to the tribal areas, and these beautiful Chitrakuti falls.
Oh, I love waterfalls.
And there's the Danteshwari temple, the Kailash and Kutsamsar caves, and this incredible Baramdeo temple, which is sometimes called the Khajuraho of Chhattisgarh because of its beautiful architecture.
Those temples sound beautiful. I'd love to see those.
Yeah, they're stunning. And lastly, the languages. Chhattisgarhi is the main language, but you've also got Hindi, Gandhi, Halbi, Kuruk.
Wow, so many languages.
And the state motto is Farat Kadil Chhattisgarhis.
What does that mean?
The heart of India, Chhattisgarh.
I love it.
It really captures its essence.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Now let's shift gears and head north to Ladakh, the land of high passes.
Oh, Ladakh. I've always wanted to go there.
Oh, it's incredible. Such a unique blend of Tibetan and Indian cultures.
Yeah.
Heavily influenced by Buddhism and these ancient monasteries.
Right, the Gompas.
The Gompas, yes.
Yeah.
And the traditional clothes,
Yeah.
the ganchas and paraks, so distinctive.
Ladakh's always seemed so mysterious to me,
Well, yeah, and it's probably because it's so isolated geographically.
That makes sense.
And that isolation allowed it to develop this really unique cultural blend. And Buddhism is everywhere, especially Tibetan Buddhism. Those Gompas are not just religious centers.
Right.
They're also repositories of Ladakhi art and culture.
Like living museums.
Exactly. And historically, Ladakh was a key stop on the ancient Silk Route.
Really? So it's been a crossroads for centuries.
Yeah, which meant it was this hub for trade and ideas were constantly flowing through it.
Fascinating.
Then Buddhism spread from Tibet centuries ago.
Okay.
Later came Dogra rule, then it became part of Jammu and Kashmir. But it also played a strategic role in the Indo-Pak Wars, the Kargil War.
Right.
And in 2019, it became a Union territory.
Wow. So it's got this layered, complex history.
Totally. And festivals are a big deal in Ladakh. There's Lusar, the Tibetan New Year, the Hemis Festival, which has these amazing mass dances that tell spiritual stories.
I've seen pictures of those. They're so colorful.
Then there's the Ladakh Festival, which is like a big cultural showcase.
Yeah.
The Sindhu Darshan Festival, which honors the Indus River.
The Indus. Why the Indus River?
Well, it's their lifeline,
Oh, right. In that desert environment.
And even dances like the Yak Dance and the Cham Dance, which are part of these monastic rituals.
So much to see and do.
And musically, Ladakh is really interesting. They have these traditional instruments, the daemon, surna, and pawang, which create this very distinctive sound. And then there's choskar, which is like spiritual singing, and the Shangal dance, which was originally performed for royalty, but now it's like world famous.
Really? That's amazing.
It's amazing how it's traveled. And even some of the modern artists from Ladakh, like Mohit Chauhan, the Bollywood singer.
Oh, yeah.
And Tashi Lamo, a folk singer, and a Ladakhi rock band called the Monk. They all draw inspiration from this traditional music.
It's cool how they're blending the old with the new.
Now, food-wise, Ladakh has some delicious stuff. You've got thukpa, momos.
I love momos.
Sky, which is kind of noodle soup, butter tea.
Oh, I've heard of that. Isn't it salty?
Yeah, it's salty and buttery.
Not sure if I could handle that.
Might be an acquired taste. It's called gur gur chai. And there's chang, which is like a local beer.
Okay.
And of course, Ladakh is known for its amazing apricots.
Oh, yeah, I've heard they're the best.
And sea buckthorn.
So it's hearty food that keeps you warm in that high-altitude cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of high altitude, the ecosystem in Ladakh is incredible. It's desert, so you've got tough plants like juniper and sea buckthorn that can survive. And the animals are amazing. Snow leopards, Himalayan ibex, kiang, the black-necked crane, which is considered sacred.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, yaks, which are so important to their way of life.
They're like the backbone of Ladakh, aren't they?
They really are. And Ladakh has some inspiring people, too. Sonam Wangchuk, who created these amazing ice stupas.
Oh, right. Those are brilliant.
To help with water scarcity. Chuang Norful, the glacier man who makes artificial glaciers.
Wow. Talk about ingenuity.
Nawang Gambu, one of the first to climb Everest.
Wow.
And Finlas Coral, who started a women-led travel company.
Really pushing boundaries.
And, Those incredible Ladakhi landscapes have been featured in a bunch of popular movies like Three Idiots, which was filmed at Pangong Lake,
I love that movie.
Hog Milkafog, and Lakshya, which was filmed around Kargil.
I can see why filmmakers are drawn to Ladakh. It's visually stunning.
Right. And speaking of stunning places, you got to see Leh, the capital, with its historic palace and
Yeah.
Shanti Stupa,
Yeah.
Kargil, which has a war memorial,
Mm-hmm.
Pangong Lake, which actually changes colors.
No way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Nubra Valley, which has sand dunes and Bactrian camels.
Sand dunes and camels in a high-altitude desert.
It's a trip, right?
Yeah.
The Magnetic Hill, which is this optical illusion, Sanskar Valley,
Yeah.
known for the Chedar Trek,
Oh, yeah, where you trek on a frozen river.
and Somoriri, this gorgeous high-altitude lake.
It's a landscape photographer's dream, isn't it?
Absolutely. And language-wise, Ladakhi and Tibetan are the main languages,
Mm-hmm.
but people also speak Hindi, Urdu, and English.
Okay.
Common phrases include Julie, which is like a multi-purpose greeting,
Cool.
Om Mani Padme Hum, the famous Buddhist mantra,
Right.
and Changdu, which basically means want some chang,
Love that one.
and the motto, the land of high passes, really sums it up perfectly.
Yeah, straight to the point.
Okay, ready for our last stop. Nagaland, a place that's just bursting with tribal cultures.
All right, let's go. Nagaland has always intrigued me.
It's amazing they have 16 major tribes, each with their own customs and dialects.
16. That's incredible.
And they're all so different. The Konyaks, with their warrior history, they used to practice headhunting, and they have these incredible tattoos. They're really fascinating.
Tattoos. I'd love to learn more about those. What kind of significance do they have?
Well, they actually mark status and bravery, achievements, things like that.
Wow. It's like a visual representation of their life's story.
And the clothes, the beadwork, the feathered headdresses, and storytelling and dance are so central to their culture.
So vibrant.
It's a really visually rich culture.
Mm-hmm.
And historically, it's been a place of conflict and resilience. They were colonized by the British in the 19th century, Christianity spread, and then there was the Battle of Kohima in World War II, which was really significant.
Oh, I've heard about that. Wasn't that a turning point in the war?
Yeah, it was a big deal. And then, of course, there's been a long history of Naga nationalism and this struggle for independence.
Right, and they eventually got statehood in 1963, but there's still insurgency going on.
Yeah, it's been a long and complicated fight for self-determination. But in 2015, there was this peace accord, which hopefully will lead to a more peaceful future.
Let's hope so.
But the festivals in Nagaland are just amazing. The Hornbill Festival, it's often called the Festival of Festivals.
Why is that?
Well, it brings together all the different tribes, so it's like this huge celebration of their diverse cultures.
I bet that's an incredible sight to see.
And then there are festivals that are specific to each tribe, like Sekrin, Moatsu, and Eoling. They're all connected to their own traditions and beliefs.
So it's like a kaleidoscope of cultures coming together.
Exactly. Now, musically, Nagaland is so interesting. They have a huge rock and metal scene in Kohima and Dimapur.
Really? Rock and metal in Nagaland?
Yeah, it's big there.
That's pretty unexpected.
But they've also got this deep tradition of folk music with war chants, bamboo harps, ballads that tell their history.
It's cool how they're embracing both the modern and the traditional.
And the food is another highlight. They love their smoked pork, axon, which is fermented soybean,
Oh, wow.
bamboo shoot curry, and of course the Magaraja Mircha.
What's that?
Oh, it's the king chili.
Ooh.
Super spicy. And they have local drinks like gallo and zuto.
Sounds intense.
It's definitely a cuisine with a lot of character. And the biodiversity is amazing. They have rhododendrons and bamboo forests, this beautiful blue orchid called the blue vanda orchid.
That's a cool name.
And the fauna is pretty incredible. The great Indian hornbill is sacred to a lot of the tribes.
Okay.
They also have the mithun, which is like symbol of wealth,
Interesting.
clouded leopards, and Amur falcons, which actually use Nagaland as a major roosting site during their migration.
So they play an important role in the global ecosystem.
Totally. And Nagaland has some inspiring people, too. Dr. T.A.O., who is the first captain of the Indian national football team.
Oh, wow.
Mary Kom, the famous boxer, is from neighboring Manipur, but she's a big influence in the region.
Yeah, she's a legend.
Lobo Naga is a popular musician from Nagaland, and Catalino Kensi is a young woman who's doing amazing things for girls' education.
That's...
And they've got the Nagaland Premier League, which is gaining popularity. People love their football.
I love that they're making a name for themselves in the world of sports.
Me too. And if you ever go to Nagaland, you got to see Kohima, the capital, which has this really moving war cemetery.
Yeah.
Dimapur is the commercial hub.
Hmm.
Then there's the Zuku Valley, Jopfu Peak, and Shaloy Lake. So much beauty.
It's like a hidden gem, isn't it?
It really is. And lastly, languages. English is the official language.
Okay.
But they also have Nagamese, which is like a common language that different tribes use to communicate with each other.
Ah, so it's a lingua franca.
Exactly. And then there are over 20 different tribal languages. Common phrases you might hear are Aji Kenye S, which means, how are you?
Okay.
Dibo Kushi Sis, meaning I am happy. Paisan Nai, which is no money.
Right.
And this really enthusiastic ho ho ho, which you hear a lot. And the state motto is unity and diversity, which perfectly describes Nagaland.
Such a fitting motto.
So there you have it. 3 incredible Indian states. Chhattisgarh, Ladakh, and Nagaland. Each with its own history, traditions, culture, and spirit.
It's really mind-blowing when you think about how much diversity is packed into a single country.
Yeah. It makes you realize how much there is to learn about the world, even within a single nation.
Totally. I'm still processing everything we talked about. What really struck you?
You know, I think for me, it was just the resilience of the people in each of these places. They faced so many challenges, geographically, historically, politically.
Yeah.
But their cultures are so strong and vibrant. That's what really resonated with me. How about you?
Oh, so many things. But I think for me, it was the connection to the land. You see it everywhere in the festivals, the food, the art.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it just makes you think about how our environment shapes us, you know?
Absolutely.
I feel like I could spend a lifetime exploring each of these states and still only scratch the surface.
Totally. And that's the beauty of it, right? There's always more to discover.
Always more. I'm so glad we did this deep dive.
Me too. And for our listeners, think about what really resonated with you today. What sparked your curiosity? What do you want to learn more about? Because the more we understand these different cultures, these different ways of life, the more we understand ourselves and the world around us.
And who knows? Maybe this deep dive will inspire you to plan your own adventure to Chhattisgarh, Ladakh, or Nagaland someday.
Until next time, keep exploring.